This is not Roosters, but it is a fun, casual joint. And in fact, it's getting even more fun and more intense. We are at the Hilton Anatole down in Dallas, Ohio State. It's a Tuesday for them. It's actually their best Fridays in football. They're getting ready to go over for their walkthrough to get ready for New Year's Eve. It is the Cotton Bowl quarterfinal, Ohio State and Miami. We are just one day away. And the live show brought to you by Tansky Powersports and Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems is usually on a Monday, a real Monday. Mm-hmm. This is a true Tuesday. Yep. But it's a day before a game, so we get Nicole Cox's actual game day vibes and nervousness, which I'm very excited for.
I'm not nervous. Let's not use the word nervous.
You're
I'm
not?
excited. I'm so excited. And so is Buckeye Nation. The fans have been so great here. And we have our 3 winners from the Buckeye giveaway, which has been incredible. And actually, one of the winners is flying in from London. They were there.
London?
Right. They were
I didn't know that we were international.
They were visiting family there for Christmas, but she said she ran into multiple Buckeye fans in London. Like, how great is that? We're everywhere. I love it.
I mean, just have to enter. Even if there's 25 million people, even if they're in London, you can still win.
She traveled there for Christmas.
Okay, well, that's Nicole Cox. That's Jeremy Birmingham. I know that he's nervous.
I'm not nervous. I'm tired.
I like it.
I'm a little nervous because I'm always nervous because games. Look, when you go into a game and it could be the final game of your season, you better be nervous.
Don't think of it that way.
You better be nervous because if you go out and think that tomorrow ain't promised to nobody.
Oh.
Okay.
You know?
That's true. But you can have butterflies. You just have to make sure that they fly in formation.
Correct.
That's words of wisdom from me, Austin Ward. We also have Bobby Carpenter. He will be here to join us shortly. We'll get some final thoughts from him on the matchup with Miami. It's been a long 25 days, Nicole. A busy 25 days. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season and Merry Christmas. Yes. I know that you've been very busy traveling, doing everything with the family and Ohio State fans.
Yes.
But you made it.
Yes. We're so excited to be here. And I think about the team. I know it was 25 days, but I do feel like you have Christmas in there, you have the holidays. I guess my birthday is like mid-month, so I throw that in there. But for them...
Does the team celebrate your birthday?
No, they don't. But I guess that's what fills up my month. But I know it's a long break, but I feel they're going to be ready. I mean, the pump up, even if it was like a break for like 2 weeks, the pump up for this, like to finally be here, I think they're going to be great.
Well, I mean, you've had a chance to just be around the team and check some of the vibes. Obviously, Birm and I have been at the arrival on Sunday night, full team media day on Monday at AT&T Stadium. Ryan Day had his last press conference earlier today. But at the team hotel, I think that you watch this team getting ready for practice, going through practice. They're locked in the way that you would want to see them.
Absolutely. They've proven that to us all year. They have. And even though the Big Ten game didn't go as planned, I feel, like I said in the last show I was on, that just gives them more drive to make sure to win this one.
Well, a motivated version of Ohio State's pretty scary, bro.
A pissed-off team is what Ryan Day has said repeatedly since the end of that Indiana game. And you can see it. The guys are focused, but it's weird to me because sometimes I think that Ryan Day as a coach, when he sees, and this is similar to the conversation we had back after the Illinois game, when Ryan was not mad in his post-game press conference, despite the fact that Ohio State played its worst half of this regular season in Champaign, when he worst quarter and a half, when he basically
third,
when he said, "Hey, I didn't need to be upset because they already were. I didn't need to be the guy driving that the motivating train because the team was already mad." So I've thought that this week here in Dallas, when in the interactions we've had with Ryan Day, the way we've seen him, he seems very comfortable. He's been walking around this hotel. He hasn't even been pretending to be on the phone. Which is nice. He stopped and took pictures with fans. That's stuff that I don't think he would normally do unless he was in a good headspace going into this game, and that's encouraging. For me, as we did the show a week ago at Roosters, I was like, I don't know how I feel. But when I see Ryan Day in that mode, then I'm like, okay, I feel better.
Well, that's good because an hour ago we did Snap Judgments at AT&T Stadium, and he was...
It's okay.
That was shaking.
When Ryan's not pretending to be on the phone, it means he's feeling okay.
He walked past me, Ryan Day, and he said, "You good?" And that was reminding me of when he yelled at Birm before the Georgia Peach Bowl, and he's like, "Don't be scared, Birm." And that is usually a sign that because we I know what people love when we talk about the vibes, Nicole.
Oh, yes.
But you can kind of tell if Ryan Day feels like his team is prepared, if he's prepared, if his coaching staff is prepared, if the whole program is ready. By the way, he carries himself. Birm's talking about not being on the phone or interacting with fans. He said this, and he pointed it out on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium, that he he was kicking the dirt a little bit. He looked unsure about what was going to happen, and that bore itself out in the way that Ohio State played. Now, the game is tomorrow. We'll see how he's acting then, but everything right now is pointing towards a team that's really prepared.
Yeah, I also think that we lost that game because we're going to have a rematch with them, and then
it was meant to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I do believe that. I would be very, very I wouldn't be very, very, but like nervous if we had won that game, and then if we have another game against Indiana. I just feel like winning 2 times in a row sometimes doesn't always work out, you know? So I feel like we have that to our advantage. And I loved what you said about Ryan Day not being angry at the players. I think that is the definition of a great coach, because putting people down when they already are hard on themselves, it just makes them feel worse. It's not good for them. And those little things are what make him just such an incredible coach with this incredible
It's
team.
also an unnecessary deflection, because as the leader, as the guy that's supposed to have the team prepared, it's your fault if they don't go out and execute, if they're not ready for the game plan, if they're not ready for what the opponent is going to do, it's your fault. Like, that's your job. So you're the guy getting paid $11+ million a year. So it makes no sense to be mad at the guys because you didn't have them prepared, because everyone in the program was trying to handle 78 different distractions. So
it's a group effort.
Yeah, group effort.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to take ownership from that, but I think I agree with Birm. At the top, he's ultimately in charge of that, and he's never hidden from that responsibility. Right. Win or lose, he has certainly carried that on his shoulder. That's part of the journey, and if you're looking for your next adventure, head to Tansky Powersports. It's your one-stop shop for ATVs, dirt bikes, golf carts, and so much more. Whether you are looking for speed, power, or versatility, Tansky Powersports has something for everyone with the best brands and expert service. Visit Tansky Powersports today at 2491 West Dublin Granville Road, or browse their huge selection online at TanskyPowersports.com. Tansky Powersports, where the adventure begins.
I promise that segue sounds a lot better on the audio-only version than it looks when we're...
What do you want me to do, man?
I think it's fantastic.
I just want to bust some balls.
Okay, that's easy. Bob will be here in a minute, and you can do that.
That's why I got to prep. I got to get myself ready.
Sorry that I can't hide it behind my water and my Coke Zero, because I'm not at Roosters for Appetizer Thursday, which right now
is onion feathers.
Onion feathers.
Which is delightful. Bob, what do we got there? Plucking sauce?
Plucking sauce.
Plucking sauce. Sorry, I had to steal his thunder. He's right over there. Yeah. That's, again, if you're just listening, that makes no sense. Who are you watching tomorrow night, Nicole?
So, my notes. Tegra we're kind of iffy about, right?
He's officially listed as doubtful. Ryan Day has indicated for the last week or so that he doesn't expect him to play.
Okay.
And that opens up potentially Gabe Van Sickle to start there.
Which I've enjoyed kind of seeing him in and out, like hearing his name. It's just someone new. And so I'm anxious to see, I mean, obviously he has to go in like Luke Montgomery last year and just really prove like, hey, I'm great at this and we're going to move forward. So I'm anxious to see that. I'm excited to see the team. It's been a month and yeah.
What do you think of Gabe?
I thought Gabe, I mean, he's obviously acquitted himself nicely in the opportunity he's had, played very well in the second half against Indiana. I was most impressed by him on Monday at Media Day because he's not a guy that's been presented with a lot of media opportunities thus far.
Yeah.
And when we got a chance to talk to him at Media Day, he was extremely comfortable. He was not someone who had like a nervous energy about him, understood the assignment, understood that he's still got areas to get better, but he's excited for it. And, you know, when you're a young guy getting your first start and it's in the college football playoff for the defending national champion, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. And I think just having the right perspective as to say, hey, I'm just going to go out and play football because that's what I'm here to do. That sort of approach, I think, really makes a difference. And I don't have any concerns about Gabe Van Sickle playing worse than any other offensive lineman tomorrow. I think that he is equally prepared. He's had not only the entire month of November where he played in place of Josh Padilla as the rotational piece with Tegra, but the entire second half of the Indiana game and the Big Ten championship game. And now he's had 3.5 weeks of practice where he's been put into the position to be the guy. And if, you know, as Nicole mentioned, you saw it last year with Luke Montgomery and Austin Saraveld, there's no reason to think that Ohio State doesn't have him ready. And so let it rip.
Yeah, he did not seem like someone who was overwhelmed by the moment that was in front of him, and it does help. Nicole, you talked about that, him playing in the second half against Indiana, the opportunity that he's had in practice. Birm alluded to rotating in November. It is not, you know, Luke Montgomery didn't even really have that much of a head start in terms of high leverage moments. Gabe Van Sickle played aside from the first drive of the third quarter where maybe he should have already been in the game, that's not his decision. Everything after that against the number 1 seed in the college ball playoff, undefeated and Big Ten champion now Indiana, he has tested himself against a really good defensive front in a game that counted.
Absolutely.
So that's really a big deal going into tomorrow.
Well, and like you said about like not letting the pressure get to him, just going out there and playing football, I feel like that has been the mentality for the entire team the entire year.
Yeah.
We talked about that after the Michigan game last year. Let's just focus on the simplicity of it. Just go out there and, you know, you're good. You're great at it. Have confidence in your position and just do it. And they've done such a great job of doing that this year.
What is in that notebook for the score prediction on New Year's Eve?
So our friend Kim, fellow fan here supporting the team here at the Cotton Bowl, traveling from Ohio, she said 28-17, but I'm thinking 24-9.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just wanted to make sure that...
I know. I liked her score too.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw it out there.
It can only be one.
I know. I wanted to throw it out there.
You just want to cover her in case she wins.
Exactly.
And gets it right.
So it's on record.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. All right. We'll get Birm's final score prediction here shortly. It'll also be tomorrow on bold predictions as well. But we got to break that down. We're going to have Bobby Carpenter in here. Is there anything else? How late is Roosters going to be open?
Normal hours. Some of our franchise locations may not have normal hours for New Year's Eve, but we are open in Columbus all day, and normal hours New Year's Day as well.
Okay, until the game is over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's important.
Yes, of course. Oh, absolutely.
Anything else for the
No.
How many people are down here?
We have 6 this year. So we have 3 plus their guests, and they've been wonderful. So excited, just smiles ear to ear. And it's just such a great experience.
It is. It's awesome to be down here. Can't wait one more day until we get to Ohio State and Miami at AT&T Stadium. And I'm really excited to get Bobby Carpenter's thoughts. When we come right back in here at the live show on the road, we're not at Roosters, but that's a fun casual joint brought to you by Tansky Power. Oh, there he is. We'll be right back with him after this.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Precision engineering, rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
To make sure you and your home stay comfortable, contact Patriot Air Comfort Systems at patriotair.com.
Welcome back to Not Roosters, a fun casual joint. We are still at the Hilton Anatole. Bobby Carpenter is here, fresh off of his flight and ready for action. How much scarlet and gray did you see on the way down here?
Oh yeah, the whole airport was packed. I could have told you that when I was trying to book my flight, as I had mentioned, and I'm like in the queue, churning, keep getting kicked out. And thankfully I was able to get them the one that I needed. I was getting a lot of great offers from American. Hey, if you don't need to travel today, you can always we'll give you an extra $250, maybe $400, $500. Kept going up and up. I'm like, but I need to be down here for the Buckeyes. So yes, a lot of Buckeyes traveling through here. And listen, you got directs from Miami, American to American here.
Yeah.
I did not see anybody with Hurricanes gear. I saw a number of people with Ohio State gear walking through DFW.
There seem to be a handful of Miami fans on social media.
Very loud.
But I don't know that I've ever encountered one in person in Dallas, and we've been here since Sunday. I definitely didn't see any when I was down in Green and with the folks down there. I saw a lot of Ohio State flags actually flying in yards down there. So it feels like the whole state of Texas is behind the Buckeyes.
Well, there's a lot of Ohio transplants, Midwest transplants in the North Dallas area, and it's represented in some of the recruiting that Ohio State's able to do here. But I always, anecdotally, this was 20 years ago when I got here now, our neighborhood is probably 60 homes, and probably 15 to 20 of them flew Big Ten flags, and probably 5 of those were Ohio State flags. And that's just a small little cross section, but there are a ton of people from the Midwest that are down here. And so, Big Ten folks, I don't know if it's quite like all SEC, all behind everybody, but I think most of the Big Ten can get behind hating Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like when we're getting anecdotal at the Anatole. That's fun.
Oh,
we got a guest coming up. We got a very special guest walking up on the show.
There he
Whoa.
is.
That was Maurice
There's the
Claret.
man, the star of 02.
Well, that's why we needed you to stay.
Bob, I assume
He could talk about Miami, I think.
you've had a chance to watch practice in the last couple of weeks, more than just the stretching period that was opened up to the media on Friday.
Intense stretching.
I was told when we got here on Sunday night by Ross Bjork that he had
fine point on it.
He had noticed the practice has been much more like aggressive and intense than it had been prior to the Indiana loss. Is that something you have picked up on? Is that something that you think this team needed to do? Because Ryan Day, actually it was Jeremiah Smith last week in Columbus, who said that the practices had not been that way. And now all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe we're going to ratchet it up. How important was that for you, do you think, for the Buckeyes to like reestablish that?
So a couple things. Like towards the end of the season, you're always kind of tapering down the last 3 or 4 weeks. Like you try to be like maybe as physical and intense, but like in a briefer period. And just because you don't want to get guys beat up. And speaking of Jeremiah, like you've got a guy with a leg injury, Carnell, you had all kinds of guys battering shoulders, just little things you get nicked up. So you kind of ease through that. Well, then you get kind of the week off, get healthy. And it's interesting, Ryan, and Mickey Marotti, they're big in all the sports science, and trying to figure all of that out. Like, what's the best way to get guys fresh, but also have them be sharp? And they've got all this evidence. They're doing all these studies. I was reading through some of the stuff, and it's like, hey, you want to keep it intense, but then take some of the reps off. And so that's what they did that week. I mean, they went really hard, but for a shorter period of time. And then honestly, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like those practices, it was fast. It looked like it did at the start of training camp. It looked like it did during spring ball. You could tell the guys were fresh, rested, moving quickly, a lot of intensity and a lot of passion.
Fresh and sharp. Exactly how I like my cheddar cheese and my football team.
Cannot stop thinking about cheese, which he's not allowed to have right now. When you mentioned this, Bob, you mentioned a shoulder. It makes me think immediately of Lorenzo Styles Jr. And he's not ever going to be 100% probably until a doctor gets to look at him after the year. But a month off, I don't know what that does. You can speak to that way better than I could for someone in his position and playing on defense who needs to tackle. He's probably feeling more ready to play football today and then heading into tomorrow than he did in the big house. Philip Daniels, same deal. Get a chance to get healthier on those legs. Like there's 6 or 7 spots that aren't Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate where there are starters who were wearing some of those battle scars through 13 games.
I would say just about everybody in the front 7 on both sides, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, running backs, tight ends, those high impact positions. You get a knee, you get a guy that's bothering, okay, give him a week, and then we can actually do some aggressive rehab, get after it. Like Lorenzo Styles' shoulder. I mean, some of the linebackers, they're battling shoulder stuff, and then you give them a little bit of time to get healthy. You start lifting, doing some rehab, and then you feel good again. And that was always my favorite part. I loved having 3 weeks off because I'm like, you can take a couple days to get healthy, then really work out for a good 10 days as you begin to ratchet up practice, and you feel like your energy return again, you feel your strength return. Like watching practice, you saw that. And also, these guys want to get that taste out of their mouth, and they've been hitting each other again for a long time, so it feels like they're eager to go at someone else.
As you watch this playoff prep happen, you've been in the playoffs in the NFL, you've won a national championship, you had those layoffs. How hard is it to put out of your mind or put in your mind that a team like Miami might come into this game and do something totally different than you've seen them do on tape? As we talked about before, when you have this layoff, you guys talked about installing an entirely new defensive scheme for the Miami National Championship game 23 years ago. They can do that. They can add stuff that no one's seen. How do you prepare for that as a football team now?
So I think you prepare for the core stuff that they've been doing, and then you look at their best players. Okay, you look offensively, whether that's Fletcher, Tony. Defensively, you've got the defensive ends. These guys are big physical. The whole defensive line. Thinking, what could they maybe do around this? You don't want to start chasing ghosts and things that are not out there. But hey, what's something they showed that they haven't ran a lot of, but maybe they had some success with, or they've been running this. This would be a natural progression off of that. And so you introduce that. You don't dwell on it. You don't sit here and start putting in plays that, Coach, they've even ran this before. But they could. Well, they could run in theory everything.
You don't do anything. You don't get all worried about Michael Taffy pretending to be Arch Manning running fake punts.
100%. Like that's not the things you're going to lean in on. And so I think that they did a good job. And look, you got a lot of experience over there on this coaching staff. Ryan Day's been through this already. Especially on the defensive side with Matt Patricia, everything that he's done, and just the whole. I mean, they got a huge department now of coaches that just watch a lot of film, and you know, Josh Boyer being here, like his impact, I don't think can not be understated with what he's been able to do and just the impact on both sides.
He's the biggest mystery man on the staff, Bob.
He's really smart.
What does he do?
And why is he allowed to wear different shoes?
Well, I mean, he like almost died.
He's the only guy that doesn't wear team-issued shoes, and I'm wondering, does he have some special orthotics that we don't know about?
It's a great
we
question.
Don't know anything about him.
Maybe just never. Well, and I guess I was up in New England with him. He's very.
I know his reputation.
He's very similar to Matt Patricia. Like they think about things. They coached for a long time together, and then he's also given Ryan like a little bit of a mirror to look at on the other side. Like, well, how would you attack this? What would you do? And so there's been a lot of cooperation. He doesn't really coach on the field that much. He's simply kind of like big picture, big brain scheme guy, kind of like, hey, I'm thinking this, you're thinking that. Hey, these are some things that I've seen them do. And he watches film of like everybody all across the country. So he had a feel. I always love picking his brain of trying to figure out who he thinks was good, who's good in what areas, kind of all throughout the season.
So if you are Josh Boyer or you're Bobby Carpenter and you're looking at Miami, we've talked so much about Ruben Bain and Hakeem Mesidor and the defensive line. What's a matchup that you think could be of interest or concern for Ohio State that is not related to the Miami defensive line?
Well, one of the things they did do, speaking of those guys, they put them on the same side a couple of times because Bain's a little bigger. They've kicked him inside, put Mesidor on the outside, and kind of done some stuff with that. I do think their nickel back, oh goodness, is he from Auburn, I want to say? Zero.
Okay.
I can't think of his
looking
name.
At Zero. I don't know Zero.
He's their kind of Swiss Army knife. He led them in tackles against Texas A&M.
Toure?
Yeah.
The kid from Rutgers.
Maybe that's Kenyatta Torre? No.
I think so.
Number 0, whatever. He had a ton of tackles. He has sacks. Like they bring him off the edge, do a lot of stuff with him. He's pretty good. And then the one freshman who leads their team in picks and had 2 in the game, Fitzgerald, who I kind of looked at before the game. He doesn't play a whole bunch, but you can see he's got a lot of talent, and he's a ball guy. And so he may take they'll work him in a little bit. He's coming due to injury, but when you have a guy who had 2 picks in your last game, you're probably going to find a way to get him on the field a little more.
You circle that for sure.
Yes.
I mean, what you're hoping what you have to get out of this game from Ohio State, I think, is just a crisper Julian Sain, a guy that is seeing the field better than he did against Indiana. Because whatever Indiana did, and I'm not an X's and O's guy, you are. Whatever the Hoosiers did in that first quarter and a half to his brain was something we haven't seen anybody else been able to do to him. And
well, they hit it for one.
They hit his brain a lot, and that changes things. But it speeds you up. How or are there any concerns for you that Julian might have got rattled in that game to a point where it affects the confidence heading into a game like this, where Miami's going to bring a lot of pressure like Indiana did, and you still are a first-year starting quarterback?
I think it's good that that experience happened, though. Like, I don't think he melted or wilted in the second half.
Played a lot better in the second half.
Played better. You know what else happened in the second half? They played a lot better up front, and there wasn't quite as much pressure.
Wait, is that important?
Yeah, so being able to be there and not have to run around and have guys crisscrossing. And that's what the one thing that's going to be interesting is how much stunting will Miami do? Because they don't move their guys nearly as much as Indiana because their guys are big and physical and they're better athletes.
Win one-on-one.
So they can win more one-on-ones. And so the question is do they see what Indiana did and say, let's do that? Or just saying, well, our guys are better, we'll just beat them anyway. And so some of the movement up front, I think there. But for Julian to see that, the offensive line to see that, they settled down in the second half. I think that's very beneficial for his growth. Because listen, man, it's been a pretty good year. He's been sacked 5 times going into that game.
I don't think when you watch the Texas game, which again to me, as we talked about it last week at Roosters, that defensive line is the one that I think is most comparable to Miami. And Texas didn't win a lot of those one-on-one matchups against Ohio State's offensive line. And that was when there had been little opportunity for cohesion.
They didn't even win one-on-ones against Will Kazmaier.
Right. So, at some point, I think you have to go into this expecting Miami to take that approach that Indiana took. Because not only then do you have better players, you can still use the things that work. So, is there something that Julian can see pre-snap or whatever that makes you feel like, okay, he's got this? When do you know in this type of game that your quarterback is locked in and sees it?
I think, well, first of all, you've had much more time to prepare this. You don't have your offensive coordinator who's in the middle of a job situation. They've got national signing.
Is that distracting?
Well, it's hard. There's a lot of things going on. And so now you've had 3 weeks to look at this. Miami doesn't do a ton on defense. They're really good at what they do. They bring some pressures. They'll lock up their corners outside. But I don't know of what they do is really beneficial against a team like Ohio State. If you're able to block up the front, which is a big if because they're good, like Indiana disguises things. They're very well coached. And I don't know that Miami goes to the lengths that Indiana does to kind of provide a masquerade back there, if you will.
Yeah, and Bobby, you mentioned there with offensive play calling and the restructuring, we know that Ryan Day is going to handle that tomorrow night at AT&T Stadium. Brian Hartline also going back down to the field to be closer with the wide receivers.
Back to the streets.
Going up, back to the streets. Keenan Bailey
Keenan's going upstairs.
Going upstairs, which so you were in the air during Ryan Day's press conference, but he said that's the new alignment. So that's just your first thoughts on that. It does seem like because of the double duty that Brian Hartline is pulling, that Keenan Bailey has certainly taken on an elevated responsibility going into tomorrow night.
I think so, and just his ability to kind of be in that game plan and be involved, seeing it from up top, and like Hart has been there at practice. It's not like people think like, oh, he's been gone, so he's coming in for the game.
Right, he's not at practice no,
he's out there coaching and working through things, still having conversations, with Ryan. Like there's still, it looks normal. Like you wouldn't think by watching practice that anything is significantly changed about how things are operating during the practice. So putting Keenan upstairs, okay, maybe it's someone who has been in this a little bit more. And Brian, get down to the field. You've been down on the field for a long time.
Yeah.
You can do that, relate to the players, and be able to talk about what they're seeing out there and coach them through that way. And so that there's going to be a little bit of a trade-off. I don't see that being that big of a change or impact.
All right, so all of this conversation has revolved around Miami's defense against Ohio State's offense. Is it just, are we all in agreement, assuming that the Silver Bullets are going to shut down Carson Beck? I know Malachi Tony's good. I know Mark Fletcher can run the football. If you're trying to run between the tackles against K-Mac and Tywan Malone and Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry, I don't know that that's a winning strategy. And we know that Carson Beck can turn the football over. So it feels like everything is focused solely on the one side of the football. And it's just like, well, Matt Patricia's going to have that taken care of on the other side.
I think so. I mean, but everybody's looking at that D-line versus Ohio State's offensive line. And the other side of it, Ohio State's been really good. They also have to block Arvell Reese and Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry and Caden McDonald. Like all these guys that are really good players that were, All-Americans. Yeah. Some of them consensus, some of them unanimous. Like those guys are still all there. They're healthy. They're fresh. And I think a lot of that faith is in Matt Patricia that he's going to put them in the best situation to be able to find a way to manipulate things. And they haven't brought a ton of pressure. I know that people were talking about that with Arvell. Is that something that they do bring some more pressure this game? Because Carson Beck, he has one of the worst ratings when pressured and when blitzed, among all starting quarterbacks in college football. So maybe that is something you do, but it all starts with, can you bottle up that run game, push it back on him, and then when they always be aware of where number 10 is at all times.
Yeah.
Like understanding that he's the guy who is their home run hitter. He's the one that they want to get the ball to, whether it's handing it to him out of the backfield, letting him wildcat snap it, him throw it, run down the seam, run over, like he does it all. And he's a very talented player. He's probably quicker than fast. He's not the biggest dude in the world, so you got to get body on him. And I mean, I'm telling you, I like number 8 and number 0 running inside out if you can edge that thing up on him.
They're pretty good.
Not too bad. They may be the best guys he's seen.
How much does a game that happened 4 years ago in Ohio Stadium, Oregon beating up Ohio State, bludgeoning Ohio State, bullying Ohio State with Mario Cristobal as their head coach, how much does that game translate to this game? Like, is there anything?
The crack toss?
That's all they did over and over and over.
I think it worked.
How
they
much?
didn't really do that much because they got a lot of yards on a few
that's
plays.
True. You just got 70 yards at a time.
How much does this coaching staff for Ohio State actually look at that game and expect anything similar?
It's a different defensive staff. Like it's a different thing. They run different schemes. Just knowing like how Matt Patricia and those guys all look at it, they flipped it on and took a look and said, "My goodness, couldn't stop the crack toss." Like,
how will we defend
why don't we get out of
one play?
Why don't we get out of man coverage number one, or we can go to too deep on the like? There's a multitude of things that could have been done, and they have answers for that. I'm sure that they gave it a quick glance, Armstrong, and then kind of moved on.
Yeah. All right. We've talked about this game so much. I am just ready to get to Wednesday night, New Year's Eve, 6:30 Central Time kickoff. And I'm really ready to hear what you think the score is going to be, Bob.
Whew.
Buckeyes are favored right now by 9.5. The over-under is 40.5.
Yeah. I would say 24-10.
24-10. Okay.
Maybe get that night. Maybe get a field goal in there.
It is a playoff. You have to win by 1, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, but I think it'll probably feel a little more one-scorey than that.
Yeah, and that's because I think if Ryan Day gets a 2-touchdown lead, then you might see some more of the same methodical pace and like get to the finish line because you still are going to have to play.
I think pace will change. When you have a defensive line like that, sometimes let's try to keep them on the field for 12 plays. Let's go 3. Once you get a first down, boom, let's go a little bit. Let's keep them on the field so they can't sub. Let's chip them. You run some lateral stuff. There's a bunch of things you can do because I don't think they're as deep as Ohio State either. And so those guys are really good, but can they be really good for 60 plays?
We'll find out. Berm?
I have Ohio State winning 20-10. I don't see this as
like mixed extra point or 2 field goals.
2 field goals. I got 2 field goals for Jaden Fielding. I think he's kicking indoors. He'll be fine. He's
kicked
I get it. He missed the
like
field goal indoors 3 weeks ago. I understand. $20-10.
They have the weird, coconut husk dirt there.
Yeah, that coconut husk is bizarre at Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil.
Maybe he has a coconut allergy. Maybe that was the problem.
Nobody asked.
I
Nobody
didn't ask him
ask.
at media day. Gosh, I wasted that opportunity.
I just don't see Miami being able to repeatedly move the ball in this game unless they come out and do something completely different offensively. Because, they're going to run the ball. Mark Fletcher's a good running back. They've got a good offensive line. But as you said, it's Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. To me, that, you don't have to just beat Kenyatta Jackson or Edric Houston or Caden McDonald, who says he will not be blocked in this game.
And he's not going to be.
And you have to be able to stop the other guys. And you have great tacklers in the secondary at Ohio State. Lorenzo Styles, Jalen McClain, Caleb Downs. I have a real tough time believing that Ohio State won't apply pressure because, as you said, Carson Beck is among the worst quarterbacks in college football when he's pressured. And then you have those other guys. And I think those other guys are the difference maker. And that's why I don't think Miami can effectively score against Ohio State.
We get to find out tomorrow night. Again, that is 6:30. That is ESPN, AT&T Stadium, Ohio State and Miami. The Buckeyes are going to win this game 31-10. That is the expectation right here from me. I am just Austin Ward, though. He's Bobby Carpenter. That's Jeremy Birmingham. Nicole Cox is now over there where Bob was earlier. We appreciate her whole staff and team at Roosters for getting everything ready for a New Year's Eve party back in Columbus. We will have full coverage on the ground here at 97.1 and 10 TV and 10 TV Plus of the Cotton Bowl and what's going to come after that, which is the Fiesta Bowl, because I just said the Buckeyes are going to win by 21.
Berm's going back to the desert, back to his
Did you know that
grounds.
Berm used to live in Phoenix?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful place.
I don't know. He was a culinary man, I believe.
He's an expert in the culinary arts.
I just really, really hope we get to go to Phoenix. It's a wonderful city.
We'll find out again tomorrow night. Hope everyone has a wonderful and safe New Year's Eve and a Cotton Bowl. Thank you to Tansky Powersports and Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems, and of course Roosters, which is a fun, casual joint.
The feathers, get them.
For Bob and Berm and Nicole, I am Austin. We'll talk to you tomorrow.